About 70,000 years ago, on the continent Africa, there was a group of Africans that migrated off of the continent. They got further away from where the sun was dominant. So when they began to move north, these Africans, same skin complexion we had, they moved into areas where there's less sunlight. Their skin, over thousands of years of evolution, their skin began to absorb more vitamin D from the sunlight. And that led to the gradual lightening of the skin pigmentation. We do not absorb the sunlight through our skin the way that white people absorb the light through their skin. We actually have a protection that blocks the sun's light. Our melanin is that. All humans are 99.9% the exact same. All humans have melanin. We just have more because we are first. We are the original. We are not the copy. We are not the evolution. White people are the evolution from the original human. So that is the way white-skinned people end up with that pigmentation. They are not a separate race. White people are not a separate race. All humans, 99.9%, we are the same. Race, the word race and the idea of race is a biological category made up by men. It's a social construct. White people, the term white people is an invention. It took centuries to do this, but around the 15th century, some say 16th century, is when this whole white people term became a thing. It was invented for the purpose of creating a hierarchy, and they wanted the white to be right. And that is where whiteness began to be birthed. And out of the white skin, or the creation of white people, came whiteness, which is a socio-political invention created to dominate, divide, and erase the original people. The white-skinned people began to feel less than the melanated people on the continent of Africa when they left. As time, thousands of years went on, they began to change their mutation, because that's what they began to call it, some people back then. They began to make their mutation what is right and called it white. And the black and brown, they made it less than. The idea, the ideology, not biology, whiteness, that made white right and everything else wrong. And the world since then was shaped by white ways, white thought, white theology.
Yeah, so pale skin is actually a rather recent human evolution. So all of our ancestors initially came from Africa. All humans are from Africa, and there's a lot of sunlight in Africa. So that means, essentially, that we needed something to protect our skin from that sunlight. So we're not getting sunburned, we're not getting skin cancer, and also there's this vitamin called folate, which is very important for pregnancy, that can be damaged by UV rays. So places where there is more sunlight hitting it more regularly tend to have people with darker skin. But in places where, there's less sunlight, you start to have problems with vitamin D deficiencies. Because basically you need sunlight for our bodies to produce its own vitamin D, which is needed for growth and living a healthy life. So places where there's not as much sunlight, people evolved to have less melanin. And this change was not immediate. A recent study suggests that the genes for white people only really start to pop up around 8,000 years ago in Europe.
Have you ever wondered, the word white, where did it come from? When was it first used or spoken about? I'm here to tell you today that the word white was first mentioned or came into existence or came into being used in 1860s. And it was a plan to dominate, rule, and feel more superior than every other person or color around it. It wasn't a color before until 1860s when the plan came to subdue every other color because they were actually inferior to every other color. That's the fact. That is the truth. Welcome to my channel. Today, I have an interesting story to share with you about where the word white or white people, where it came from, where were they before, where did they originate from. All of that we'll be sharing together with ourselves today, and credit belongs to original creator of every content and stitches into this episode. And I would like to say a very big thank you to everybody that has been a part of this community by subscribing to my channel, liking my channel, commenting on this platform, and of course, by giving me super thanks. I'm grateful. Buying me coffee, I am grateful. Every one of you, I hold you in high regard because without you, this platform won't be existing because you are always there to participate. That is why I'm always coming back. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So, like I said, I'll be right back. But credit belongs to original creator of every content that's in today's episode. Don't go nowhere, I'll be right back.
White people are technically a subspecies of black people. Technically, they are African. Okay. Now, let me tell you how. So the early humans were all Africans, right? They all started in Africa and then they migrated everywhere on the earth. This is why there is truth in that black people are indigenous to everywhere. We were in America over 10,000 years ago. We settled in America tens of thousands of years ago. Yeah. You want to talk about make America great again? Well, those people were African. Those people were black who first founded America. Yeah. So we're indigenous to everywhere. Those Africans, they had black skin. They could sit in the sun for hours at a time. They could walk and travel by foot long distances. Okay. And the melanin that was created in their skin protected them and helped them. Actually, there's so many powers that come with melanin. So these Africans were all over, including Europe. Okay. But what happened was, this is where white people came from. And I didn't know this when I first started making my show, Kiana Speaks. Go check that out on YouTube. Or I also have episodes everywhere. But now I've researched and I found out some more, and I've even, analyzed this with my discernment in the spiritual realm. But yeah, so there were some Africans who got stuck in what was called as the ice ages. And during the ice ages, right, these people, they had to lose their melanin in their skin in order to survive. Now, they didn't consciously know that they had to do that, but our bodies are intelligent beings. This is why the body will create more melanin when we're in the sun, right? It just knows that we need more melanin in order to survive. And so in that same way, their bodies knew that they needed to lose their melanin to survive the ice age. This is where the idea of white people coming from cavemen comes from, because those people, they did live in caves, and when they came out of those caves, they were very animalistic, because one thing that melanin has a lot as far as coding and messages that are imprinted. People who are melanated, we are not angry by nature. We are lovers by nature. We care about people by nature. And you'll see in a lot of Europeans, they're very aggressive. They're very easily angered, easily to be raged. That is it's actually rooted in their DNA. Really, they can't even do nothing about that. That's due to their lack of melanin. That's why you'll see, white people being so angry all the time, even though they got everything. It's just, when they lost that melanin, they lost all the benefits that comes with having melanin as well. And that comes with superior abilities in thinking, in doing. That's why you'll see most of the NFL and NBA and stuff and the track stars who do amazing things. They are melanated people. Their melanin actually helps them be so great as an athlete. And a lot of them don't even know it. But this is why when you do take somebody who is melanated and they are able to develop in a good atmosphere, their power is endless. Their capabilities are astonishing, and it's because there are so many benefits that comes with having melanin. Now, white people, the lighter skinned people, they do have some melanin. Okay, some. Okay, but I just want to make this clear. Technically, everybody comes from Africans. Okay, except the white people just comes from a subspecies. Really, they are really a subspecies of Africans. So it's kind of crazy that that there are some who really hate black people, because it's like, you came from my ancestors, except y'all just got lost in the ice ages and you had to lose your melanin, which is something that gives you a lot of benefits. So what are you mad at me for? See, racism is really just reverse psychology. It's really jealousy, because a lot of white people know what melanin does for people. A lot of black people don't know what melanin does for people, and that's why you'll see a lot of black people wanting to lighten their skin, bleach their skin, because they're ignorant. But yeah, white people technically are African, and they come from they are really like a subspecies of Africans who lost their melanin by force after being stuck in the ice ages. So yeah, technically, no, they're not black, because to be black, you gotta have melanin. Let's be clear. When we say black people, we're talking about people with melanin. Heavy melanated people. Okay? But technically, everybody has some African in them. Okay?
And the process of grafting white out of black began. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it took 600 years. The process was a birth control process, a selective breeding process, where you married the lighter on to the lighter, and you killed the darker, saved the lighter, marrying the lighter on to the lighter. And after 200 years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said God revealed to him that there was a brown civilization on our planet. And 200 more years of that same process, a yellow civilization was in existence. And 200 years after that, that same process continued for 600 years. And at the end of that time, there was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed creature on our planet that is called the Caucasian. After you were made, you still had the language. It is a Semitic language. It is Arabic. You were speaking that language, but you had it when your father, before you were grafted from black into white, you spoke that language. Arabia was your home. But now you're a new creature, and you go back into Arabia and you start using some of the technology that you were taught by your father, Yaqub. And within 6 months, you had the Holy Land turned upside down. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that they started questioning, when did this problem arise among us, that they were causing us to fight and kill one another by telling lies. You do the same today. Everywhere you go, you start pitting one against the other, telling lies, dividing and conquering. Well, those days are over. Now it's your time to suffer the consequences of your evil, even though there's a chance for you to escape those consequences, because what you did was divinely given to you to do, and you have fulfilled your role. And now the mercy of God is asking you if you would like to be a part of that which He makes new, or do you still want to fight God over your place? If you do, this is your end. Now, when you were in Arabia after you were made Caucasian and you started making trouble there, the king rounded up all that we could find and drove you across the desert 2,200 miles into the hills and the cave sides of Europe, where you went absolutely savage. It was 2,000 years that you were in the caves and hillsides of Europe until Moses came to civilize you. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that some of the Caucasians were hidden by the original people in Arabia, and they grew right up under us. And your Bible teaches you that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them to be wives, and race mixing began on the Arabian Peninsula. By the time Moses came, there were hundreds of thousands, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, of Caucasians on that Arabian Peninsula. And one among them was a king. Among them he was called Pharaoh. And he was so smart and so tricky, he was about to trick the king of Arabia. But they caught up with him and his tricks, and they were about to destroy them. But they asked the question, you know, you have to leave here. So the king, Pharaoh, they asked him, where would you like to go? And he said he would like to go to Egypt. It wasn't called Egypt at that time, but that's how the Caucasians got into Egypt. They were sent there, and then the Pharaoh of Egypt enslaved them. And Moses then had two jobs. He had to bring the Kavi out of West Asia, Europe as it is now called, and he had to guide the Caucasians that were in Egypt out of Egypt. They were just a couple of 100,000, a few 100,000, and they were not the seed of Abraham, mind you. These were those who would present a sign, that is all, of a great enslavement that would take place near the end of the time of the rule of the Caucasians. The children of Israel would suffer in bondage 400 years, not those that were exiled to what was now called Egypt. No, these were Caucasian people, tricky people, people that began to create trouble wherever they went. Now look at the Middle East now. In Palestine, the original Palestinian is black. The original Arabian is black. The original Iraqi is black. The original people of that whole area are black. But in the nature of the being made, saving the lighter, killing the darker, this is the process that goes on in our world today. We favor the lighter-skinned black man who is mixed with you, and you push the darker brother or sister down. Where are the black Palestinians? They're pushed out. Where are the black Arabians? They're pushed out. Where are the real black Egyptians? They're pushed out. So this race mixing produced a lighter hue, and some maintained their whiteness, but the same nature.
So this is our first TikTok, and we've never done this before, but I just want to tell this funny story. We went to the store and we were standing in line, and somebody asked us, well, you know, this cash register lady, she says, well, how do you know each other? And we both said, that's my daughter, and my daughter's saying that's my mother.
Mom.
And then she immediately starts trying to tell us stories about, you know, how she knows black and white people and all this kind of stuff. Didn't nobody ask her that? So yeah,
We look alike.
we look exactly alike. So I don't know why people don't understand that this is my daughter. And
White people come from black people.
yep, they do. Newsflash.
You heard the woman said the word white first came in 1960s, right? And that it was an agenda to do few things, and she also mentioned it. So before now, the old white word was black. The people of, let me say, black and brown. Everybody was in that shape. And of course, you heard the guy at the intro who said there was a migration that happened in Africa. Some set of people moved, some group of people moved. And of course, they moved out of where there was sun. And before you knew it, their skin tone began to change. Yes, he said it began to change, and of course, they moved away from sun. Sun used to be very, strong in Africa. By the way, that time the continent was not known as Africa, but so they moved away, and because of the sun and the humidity of the sun, they had to move into caves and all of that to hide themselves, to keep themselves from being spotted by the sun. And as time goes on, the coloration of the skin began to change, the tones began to change. And that's how that whiteness of the skin came into fruition. And that's exactly what happened. And of course, that is one story. But the other story is the fact that when that began to happen, we were told that they lived in caves because they became strange. The sun became strange to their skin. They had to hide, and later on they come out, and over time they began to evolve in number, in adaptation. They began to evolve just to understand themselves more. And of course, when they understood themselves more, here comes 16th century, 1680 something, 80s, let me put it that way. And they began to emerge, and suddenly they realized that, oh, we were actually outnumbered, because right from the creation, black was the dominant color, and they are actually the superior figure. If you know what I'm talking about, I've done several stories about the exploit of the black people on the surface of the earth. You can go and check it out. Building the first university, doing the first surgery, having, Pythagoras theorem, how to go to the moon, how to read the star, how to know the days, all of these things were done by black people. So these are the times that black people were in dominance. But when that happened, these white guys, these black people that became white, that lived in cave, began to emerge, and they were like, oh, we were minority. Let's find a way to be majority. And that is when white was mentioned. They said they want to be a class of people that want to be in charge. And that's exactly what happened in 1680s. That they said they want to divide and rule. And of course, between that time and to the 18th centuries, you can see what happened. Amalgamation happened. Taking over of black countries in England, in Spain, in Portugal, just name it. In Africa, they said, okay, let's see how we can divide and rule the African continent, because that was where the goodies, all of that happened. Started from 16th centuries when they were like, oh, white, some people are called white. And from that whiteness, they began to strategize. And of course, those guys took over the world. Let's not lie. But what am I saying today? When you know the origin, these histories are not being taught. A lot of black people do not even know that they are the superior being. They don't know. They do not know that they are the majority, because the rhetoric now is that the white people are more dead. No, but it's not true. Are you also aware that they came from black people? So there's no white without a black. So in other words, most of these guys you see today, they are actually cousins and cousins and cousins to each other because they came from black. Yes, that's a fact. That is a fact. Black gave birth to them. Black manufactured them because they came from black. And that is what is not known by a lot of people, like, oh, white people, they came from above. No, they didn't come from any above. They came from black people. And of course, they were the minority, like I said. But these histories were kept away from the black people, from the school, from the curriculum, from the syllabus of the black people, as very black Africans, and they do not even know that they are superior, being that they are the majority, because they want the black man to feel that, oh, the white man is better, is more knowledgeable. He's like, you heard the guy, he said, white thought took over, white dominance took over, white being the best took over everything. That was the agenda. But I'm here to debunk it and let you know that black was actually the best, superior being. They are the ones that gave back to white. Whatever gave back to another person is the most superior one in terms of skin color, in terms of strength, in terms of exposure. That is why tomorrow, now and tomorrow and forever, a black person will go out in the sun undisturbed because the skin is the original, it's more strong. Yes, these are just natural. If you see a white person today, they can't stand the test of time when it comes to sun. They can't survive. They began to turn pale red and all that. They can't, because their skin can't take it. That's what we call melanated black people. We are melanin people. We can take, our skin has protection, but theirs do not have. And that's how you know that black people are superior. That's the fact. But if you don't know, please know today, from all that every speaker has spoken, they said it, and I'm just trying to just summarize and let you know that as a black person, you are not inferior. You are the most important creature that God created. Then I give birth to other colors. Simple and easy. Black is the mother of all creation. Black give birth to white. And that is all I want to discuss with everybody today, especially those that do not know. And this is not to cast any aspersion or cast any, any division. No, this is for educational purpose, enlightenment purpose, and that's why I showed this video. That is the origin of white people. They originated from black people. Any views, perceptions, comment are welcome. Let me know what's your take on this topic, because I would like to hear from you. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and share if you love this good content. I put this video, I give you the go ahead and permission to do that. Please let this video go viral. Until I come your way again, don't forget, remain in peace, remain in love, and avoid trouble. Bye for now.